from the Cleveland radar. So we're scanning the skies here, and you can see the polygon where this tornado warning is in effect. This is just south of Kingsville. The tornado warning does include Pierpont. Here's 7 up through Ashtabula County, so want to seek shelter in Pierpont immediately. The rotation on that storm is back to the south and west of the Pierpont area, and again, this is tracking generally off towards the east-northeast. I know there's a yellow polygon in there. That's the severe thunderstorm warning, but what we're most concerned about right now is this red polygon, and Erica's put some times on here. So Pierpont, this tornado warned storm moving into your area by 1:38. And what Erica's doing is she's actually circling that area of rotation. And this is moving right towards Pierpont within the next 15 minutes or so. That's why we want you to seek shelter in Pierpont immediately. Lowest level of your home, most interior space, putting as many walls between yourself and the outside of your house as you can. Now, some of these towns that you see popping up here are out towards Pennsylvania. So Conneautville and then out to the east. What we're most concerned about right now, the Pierpont area where a tornado warning is currently in effect. This was just issued by the National Weather Service. We have several storms that we're watching, but this is currently our only active tornado warning out in northeastern Ashtabula County. City of Ashtabula, Geneva, Lenox, not included in this warning. Again, this is generally for the Pierpont area as this storm moves east. If you're not quite sure what to do, and you're out in Pierpont, I know it's 1:20 in the afternoon, maybe some latchkey kids home at this point. It's summer. So do me a favor if you can. Cut the volume on the TV up as loud as you can if you're in Pierpont and head to your safe spot immediately. That would be a lower level of your home. So if you don't have a basement, a first floor, just somewhere away from windows in an interior room. You want to put as many walls between yourself and the outside of your house as you can in Pierpont. Erica's also pulling up some hail analysis here, and she is tracking that potential for golf ball sized hail. So certainly warranted with the warning. Golf ball sized hail, Erica, with this tornado warned storm.
Yeah, the official warning has upwards of ping pong ball sized hail, which if you're looking at it would be about 1.5 inches in diameter, certainly enough to do a lot of damage. So I want to highlight that because that is going to be destructive in and of itself, just the hail threat that's associated with this. But of course, just radar indicated as of right now. I'm looking through our chat with the National Weather Service, not hearing of any tornado that is on the ground, but certainly there's been a lot of rotation. Sam and I have been monitoring this storm for the better part of 20 minutes at least, and we have noticed basically this consistent area where rotation has been very evident here. In addition to that, I mean, you zoom into this view and you can certainly see where some of these bright green colors are. If nothing else, if there is no tornado specifically on the ground occurring at this point, it is likely producing some pretty damaging wind gusts in the mix as well. A lot of times when you see these brighter colors, that indicates 50+ mile-per-hour winds that are possible as the storm continues to move off towards the east, Sam.
All right, thank you so much, Erica. She's got some great radar analysis with this storm. This warning also is south of Conneautville. So this is basically just for Pierpont and anybody between Pierpont and Conneautville. Of course, Ashtabula proper not included in this. Geneva also not included. The tornado warning in effect until 1:45. I know you see Crawford and Erie counties on that warning as well. That's for Pennsylvania. Okay, so Erie County, Ohio, Crawford County not included in the warning. This is just for Ashtabula County and out into Pennsylvania until 1:45. A new time on this storm potentially producing a tornado. Again, it's radar indicated, no ground confirmation at this time, but radar indicated rotation moving right towards the Pierpont area, especially just north of Pierpont at 1:33 is when that'll be in your area. So that's about 10 minutes away. The warning itself goes in effect until 1:45 just to account for those at Pennsylvania counties. Erica's got the times up here. Again, 1:33, a dangerous tornado, possible thunderstorm moving towards the Pierpont area. Seek shelter in Pierpont. Erica, if we could zoom in right around places just west of Pierpont and maybe north. Again, this is a pretty rural area, so it's going to be tough to pick up any, major neighborhoods or anything like that. Here's 7, and then there's 167 moving right towards the Pierpont area. Then, of course, you've got this dangerous part of the storm to the north as well. This is 193 and again 167. So if you're in this area, please seek shelter immediately. You heard Erica talking about that potential for not just a tornado and damaging winds, but also hail. And it was pretty large hail, golf ball size, which can create some major issues. She's putting on that tracker right now. Thank you so much, Erica. That core of hail just off to the north and west. Oh, now we're seeing walnut size, Erica. That's pretty big, impressive hail for this part of the country.
Yeah, usually for hail to get this strong, I mean, you see this a lot out to the west in places like the plains, but you really need strong updraft strength with these storms, and that's a good testament to how severe sometimes these storms can be if they can manage to basically keep moving those hailstones up and down throughout that core of the thunderstorm. And certainly, I would not be surprised if this storm were to weaken at any point, that we would likely see some damaging winds pushing out of this as well, just because of all the rain cooled air that you're likely going to be pushing out of this storm. Right now, the velocity still pointing towards some pretty bright colors here of green, indicating that, granted, you're scanning a little higher up into the storm, so you're looking a little bit above the surface. So this is more so likely some mid-level rotation, but it's been a pretty consistent signature where you have those reds and those greens getting close to one another in the upper part of the storm, and then a little bit closer to the surface, you're getting where you have that better opportunity to potentially see a tornado if it were going to happen. It would likely be on this southern part here. So if you are in the Pierpont area, you need to make sure that you are still in that tornado safe location because the threat is not past. We're just continuing to see these velocity colors, as we call them, really brighten up here across parts of the area, Sam.
And just looking at the last few scans, Erica, and I don't know if you're seeing this as well, this is almost tightening up as it moves towards the state line. I'm not seeing hardly any signs of weakening at this point, and you heard Erica talking about that larger hail size indicating maybe some more intensity with this storm. So it's very important, if you're in the Pierpont area, please seek shelter immediately. What we're switching over to now is a reflectivity product, or we're not looking at winds in the storm anymore. We're looking at rain and we're looking at lightning. There is a tremendous amount of lightning with this storm, most of it north of Pierpont. So if you're in this area, if you're in the tornado warning polygon, please do not venture out to take a look at the storm. Erica's tracking 39 lightning strikes, 38 recent lightning strikes with this. So a lot of lightning, and also a portion of the I-90 corridor out through eastern Ashtabula County is included in this. So if that's your route and you're going to be traveling, maybe you have to be somewhere by 1:45 or 2 p.m. Please delay your travel until this warning has expired. It's that part of I-90 basically between Conneaut and Ashtabula. So it's a really narrow corridor there, but the tornado warning itself in effect until 1:45. We go back now from a radar product that's showing you rain over to what we call velocity, where we're taking a look at winds inside the storm. And Erica's getting us some new data here to show you exactly what's going on with that wind as the storm moves towards the Pierpont area.
Yeah, it's moving east at about 20 miles per hour. I'm going to switch back to our better velocity. It looks a little bit higher resolution in terms of this product. But basically what you're going to see is the core of the wind, and the strongest wind, if it's pushing out of this storm, it's likely going to be a little bit north of where the better rotation would be. The rotation would be on this southern end and really basically knocking on the doorstep of Pierpont. I mean, if we were to really take a deep dive into where this is, I mean, it's closing in very quickly on the Pierpont area. So if you are in Pierpont, please make sure that you are in that tornado safe location. You have the volume turned up, and wait until we give you the all clear, because this is a very powerful storm. It's continuing to work its way off towards the east. We'll put this radar basically, or track on this off towards the east. I'm gonna have to actually zoom this out just a little bit. to give us a better track here. But basically, it is in Pierpont, moving eastward at about 20 miles per hour or so, which is a relatively slow movement for a storm. So again, bearing down on Pierpont basically right now, and then finally into Pennsylvania here within the next 10 minutes or so, because each line that you see there is about 10 to 20 minutes on average. So that's how you can kind of time things out when you're looking at these tracks. So again, it's going to take a little bit of time to move it out of our area, but it's pretty close. Once it gets out of Pierpont, I think a lot of us will be in the clear necessarily from the tornado threat, but not necessarily from the hail or the damaging wind threat. Basically, where you see this bigger bullseye of wind, that's where you're also going to have the hail co-located across parts of this area. So please keep that in mind. It's not just a tornado threat that we are concerned with this storm. It is also the potential that you could be seeing hail up to the size of ping pong balls, which is about 1.5 inches in diameter. And that is certainly some damaging hail for our area. Sam.
Yeah, that can cause damage to your vehicle. It can cause, injury to people outside. I wanted to just give a few landmarks around the Pierpont area. So this would be right around where we have that rotation moving in. There's a Dollar General there. There's a Pierpont Fire Department, Pierpont Presbyterian Church, Winship Avenue, just a couple of communities and kind of general areas just to give you the lay of the land here where we may want to seek shelter immediately. And then, so that would be Conneaut Youngstown Road, Pierpont Township Hall, right around the Childs Williams Ducrow Funeral Home, just to give you some landmarks. That tornado warning still in effect for Ashtabula County until 1:45. So we have about 15 minutes on this. I would expect that the threat by that point, by 1:45, will have cleared for the Pierpont area as the storm continues to move off to the east. I'm just looking at some radar data here on my phone. But Erica, I keep looking at new scans and I'm just not seeing this really weaken at all as this moves towards 198. It's basically moving right along 198.
Yeah, and really, if we were to zoom this, I'm going to change the radar view here. I'm going to put on regular reflectivity, which is what we're used to seeing. If you zoom this out, the problem is that you don't have a lot of other storms basically interacting with this one. This one's kind of out by itself. So you don't really have air that's contaminated feeding into it, which would then tend to weaken a thunderstorm. This is basically taking advantage of those low 80s and lots of humidity out there, and it's just continuing to feed into that storm from the south. This activity that you see from Warren down towards Youngstown, too far away to really have any appreciable impact on getting this storm to weaken. So it is likely going to continue to maintain its strength as it continues to move off towards the east. And certainly I want to show you this bigger yellow box that you see here. That is a severe thunderstorm watch that is in effect until 9 p.m. this evening. So it's not to say that areas west or south couldn't see some strong to severe weather, but it's really this corridor that you see from the basically Cleveland eastward and then into Pennsylvania, southern New York, that has the best chance of seeing the more robust activity as we continue on into this afternoon.
Yeah, so you heard Erica say this. We are not done with this yet. We are in for the long haul with that severe thunderstorm watch in effect. Now, notice they didn't issue it farther west. There's a lot of rain coming into our western counties at that point. The environment's pretty worked over. So we're most concerned about stuff off to the east, especially this tornado warning running right along the north side of Pierpont. If there is a tornado there, no ground confirmation at this point, but the warning remains in effect until 1:45. Geneva, Ashtabula, Conneaut, Kingsville, not included in the warning. You're out of the tornado zone, we'll call it at this point. Right now, our area of most imminent concern is right around Pierpont and just off to the north. And then, of course, you've got a ton of rain up here to the north. This has been sitting here for quite some time. We do have an elevated threat for flooding this afternoon. So if you are basically between Conneaut and Pierpont, excuse me, and then just back off to the west, there is going to be the risk for some localized flooding, ponding on the roadways, very poor visibility. I would honestly recommend delaying any travel until the storm gets out into Pennsylvania. It shouldn't be too long now before we can get rid of that storm. Back to the west, just kind of checking in on what's going on. Summit County, maybe you're watching us from Canton, Stark County, or maybe you're watching us from Cuyahoga County. I know there's not much happening in terms of the weather right now, but we still have the potential for storms through the afternoon. And of course, we're on because we're monitoring that tornado warning out in Ashtabula County until 1:45. So we have a little time left on that. If this warning was for anybody else in our coverage area, we would also cut in for you. So we just want to be sure we get this potentially life-threatening information out there with that tornado warning in effect. Again, we still don't have any ground confirmation. We haven't heard that there's a tornado, but pretty impressive radar indicated evidence to issue that tornado warning and keep it in effect, Erica, until at least 1:45. So please stay in your safe spot if you can hear us out in Pierpont until we give you the all clear on this warning.
Yeah, and for folks that, may live a little closer to I-90, this really isn't as much of a threat for you. I mean, yes, you're going to be dealing with some heavy rain. There's the potential that if you live just south of 90, you could be dealing with that potential for some smaller hail on the kind of outer fringes of where the larger hail core is. But for the most part, the tornado threat will be on that southern end. So it is basically right near the Pierpont area. If I had to circle this, and I know the data gets a little bit more fuzzy the farther out you go because you're scanning much higher in terms of our radar beam. So you're not scanning as closer to the ground because the earth curves. You're scanning up a little bit higher. That is where we would likely be seeing the rotation, basically right over Pierpont now. The strongest of the winds, though, a little bit farther to the north. This is where you're likely going to have some of the larger hail associated with this storm. If you live in Ashtabula, if you live in the Kingsville area, even up towards Conneaut, of course, we'll watch it to see if it turns at all, but I have a feeling this isn't going to be turning back up to the north. I have a feeling, if anything, it would turn a little farther to the south, and we're not really seeing that just yet, but we are still certainly monitoring a very strong and severe thunderstorm with that potential, again, for some pretty large hail. There you can see how I was saying it's kind of co-located with where you see those brighter green colors. That's where you're also going to have the greatest threat for some of that hail that could be up to 1.5 inches in diameter, Sam.
All right, thank you so much, Erica. More great radar analysis there. You'll notice that maybe you hear a siren going off if you're out there in Ashtabula County, or maybe you're getting an alert to your phone that you're in the tornado warning in places like Plymouth and Jefferson. I would say for you, the threat for a tornado on the ground has pretty much passed on the far western side of that warning. And it looks like they've actually trimmed it back a little bit, or trimmed it farther to the north, Erica, to account for that rotation to the north. Yeah,
they're likely kind of hedging bets that if this is going to produce a tornado, it's going to happen where you have some of the strongest rotation right now, which likely isn't as far to the south. I wish I could, I'm going to turn on the reflectivity just so we can kind of see what's going on here within this thunderstorm. And then I'll put our velocity scope over the top just so you can kind of see a little bit of both, and we'll kind of move them around a little bit. But that's kind of where you can see where we have the better rotation there, closer to State Route 7. And then as you go a little farther to the north, that's where the core of the storm is where you're going to likely see the hail. But I still think that southern end, if it's going to produce something, it's likely going to be down closer to the bottom of that box, but that would just be my radar analysis. Sam, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm right there with you, and with them kind of trimming that farther to the north, I'm assuming they're watching the far southern end of that thunderstorm out there. Again, this is just by itself. It's kind of just drifting across Ashtabula County, and there's no other big thunderstorms nearby. They're all out over the lake or back to the west to stop this thing from going. I'm also looking at a radar product on my phone, and as this thing moves out into Pennsylvania, I mean, it's still really, in my eyes, this is not weakening much at all. So I can't stress the importance enough here of seeking shelter in Pierpont. I know we're not naming a ton of towns. Unfortunately, this is, again, a pretty rural area. So out here, Route 7 out in Ashtabula County, I'm just also looking at some landmarks. We have multiple screens here for severe weather coverage. So right there along 7 and in the Pierpont area, let's see, I'm just zooming around. So some areas where we would need to seek shelter if you're by that Dollar General, or if you're out a little bit farther off to the east. A couple of landmarks as the storm moves by. There is a Pioneer Picnic campground in the area. That would be a place where we need to seek shelter for sure, because a campground, not somewhere you want to be during a severe weather event. That tornado warning in effect for Pierpont. We have another 7 minutes left on this. And again, we're going to stay on it until we feel the threat has passed. Let me look at some new data here. Again, you see Crawford and Erie County on there. That's for Pennsylvania. Okay, so if you're in, Erie County, County, Ohio. This is not an issue for you. This is going to be moving out into Pennsylvania. I want to send it over to Dan DeRose. He's got some info for us.
Yeah, I'm going to continue to monitor just to show that we're all part of the team here and making sure we've got this in all angle. I'm watching for power outages. So far, not a lot, but when we're also keeping an eye on Ashtabula County Emergency Management. But here's a picture we have from Michael Connolly Thomas. Doesn't show a lot, but this is one of those eerie skies where you start to see things pop up out of the clouds that make you just a little bit nervous. This came out of Ashtabula County, but you heard Sam talk about why we're doing this, and you're in Cleveland, you're in Akron, saying, why are you interrupting my program? I want to show you this tweet from Michael. He took a picture of the radar and said, yikes, my kiddo is at Boy Scout camp this week just southwest of that area of rotation. He went and put an X right there on roaming shores. This is why we do this. Family have kids that are in this area. People have other friends and family that live in the area of this storm, and that's why we're live. That's why we need to make sure that people in this area are safe. Sam?
Thank you so much, Dan. So we continue to watch this thunderstorm. I mean, you saw how ominous those clouds looked out around the Pierpont area. Erica's putting up a new track for us just to give us an idea of where this thing is headed. And really, it's, again, hugging the state line. Here's Conneaut, here's Pierpont, and then here's the state line. So this is almost out of our coverage area, Erica.
Yeah, and they adjusted a little bit. I was making sure where they were seeing the rotation is where we were seeing some of the newer rotation in these latest radar scans. So again, it's a storm. It's always moving. It's always evolving. So things can change in the dynamics of this thunderstorm as we continue to track it with you live on air. So this is now where their main concern is for the better rotation, likely on the northern side of this system. So if you put a track on that off towards the east, they've slowed down the forward motion of it to about 15 miles per hour, which isn't necessarily a good thing because it can continue to kind of cycle through and try and gain some organization as it moves off towards the east. But that is where they are estimating the better rotation is. It co-locates with what we are now seeing on radar, and you move that off to the east at about 15 miles per hour. That should take it out of our coverage area here within the next 15 minutes or so. It'll be interesting to see how they continue potentially this tornado warning that we have in effect for Ashtabula County.
I don't like that it's slowing down also because of that flooding threat, Erica.
Yeah.
We have a tremendous amount of moisture to work with today, and the flash flooding risk, especially across our lakeshore counties, is high. We've been talking about this afternoon.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that a lot of folks forget, I mean, yes, we need the rain, and certainly rainfall is a good thing in a relatively longer amount of time, but when your ground is as dry as ours is, the water really can't soak in as fast as you think. It actually slows down how quickly the water can soak into the ground, so it actually increases that potential that you can see flash flooding concerns across a good majority of our area. And Ashtabula County is one of the areas that we've seen those abnormally dry conditions, which is the precursor to drought, basically working back into Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, we need the rain. We don't need the thunderstorms, right? If you're out here in this tornado warning polygon, especially between Conneaut and Pierpont, I do just really want to strongly encourage you to delay travel because there are probably going to be some high water issues with this thunderstorm. What Erica's pulling up right now is radar indicated rainfall amounts over a certain time, our precipitation rate. Almost 1.25 inches per hour. That is a lot of rain. Again, we need it, but with the thunderstorm sitting almost stationary over an area for quite some time, this is going to exacerbate your flooding risk. It's not so bad up towards I-90 in Ashtabula County, south of Kingsville, south of Conneaut, but it is pretty bad here, right around 84, 7. I believe that is Center Road. Correct me if I'm wrong. That 7 we keep talking about out through Ashtabula Ashtabula County. Heaviest rain right now north of Pierpont. We have 3 minutes left on this tornado warning for Ashtabula County. So we are going to stay with you until the threat passes. I'm looking at radar on my phone and on this giant monitor, and this thing is it is fixing across the state line out into Pennsylvania. So this is almost not an issue for us. Still seeing a little rotation here south of I-90. If you live off to the just to the east of 84, please stay in your safe spot until this passes, because again, we've seen continuous signs of rotation with this. You're not going to see a ton of local towns. Okay, most of this is Pennsylvania, but Bushnell, a good landmark. Please stay in your safe spot until this passes. Any word yet, Erica, on whether or not they're going to extend this past 1:45?
I have not heard in terms of that. They did just issue a severe thunderstorm warning for folks out in Lake County. So if you are joining us there, I'm going to zoom this out briefly just to show you where the new severe thunderstorm warning is. I'm going to turn our radar product back to what we're usually used to seeing. It's out towards the Menor area. This will go until, let me pull this up.
That is a nasty storm.
Yeah, this is also a storm that I don't necessarily love. It goes until 2:45. Right now, it's just for 60-mile-per-hour winds and the potential for quarter-size hail. But kind of jumping back a little bit, I know I'm going back and forth. The Ashtabula County storm, they do have a flood advisory now out for that. We were just mentioning it because of the potential for flash flooding possible, especially in low-lying, poor drainage areas, but that's probably going to be more so a problem because additional rainfall amounts of 1 to 3 inches are possible, so kind of keep that in mind. All right, it looks like they're transitioning the tornado warning potentially to a severe thunderstorm warning.
Okay, good news there.
Yeah. We had our storm tracker up. Our storm tracker, Eric Walls, there it is. He is in the Willoughby area. He's headed out towards Ashtabula County just to see if there was any damage. But I mean, those skies look extremely ominous. And that's actually the storm that you are seeing out across Lake County, the one that is severe thunderstorm warning that we were just mentioning, with that severe thunderstorm warning going until 2:45. So if you are headed out and about on 90, this is technically just to the north of I-90, but you can really see some of that good storm structure there, Sam.
Yeah, I want to encourage folks to take this storm seriously. I know it's easy to say, oh, it's just a severe thunderstorm warning. And again, once that tornado warning expires, we'll get you back to programming. But this Lake County storm looks really nasty. I would also delay travel in Menor and surrounding areas until that thunderstorm passes. That's our storm tracker out on I-90 headed towards Willoughby. And you can see just how dark and ominous those skies are. That severe thunderstorm warning in effect for 60-mile-per-hour winds out in Ashtabula. It looks like our tornado warning, as Erica mentioned, has now been transitioned over to severe thunderstorm warning, which is a positive sign. But we're not done here yet. We have a lot of storms still possible through the afternoon through about 6 o'clock. So for myself and meteorologist Erica Page, we'll get you back. Oh, okay, we're going to stay on for just a jiffy. Okay, we're going to stay on here, get you through this severe thunderstorm warning. This is in effect for Lake County until 2:45. So wow, that just is a testament to how slowly these things are moving, that we now have a warning in effect for an hour. That is not something we see with every severe thunderstorm warning here. Again, the tornado threat crossing the state line. So that is now out of our area, and we now have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for northeastern, not including Conneaut, northeastern Ashtabula County until 2:45. Then we have our severe thunderstorm warning for Lake County until 2:45. The worst of the weather north of I-90, and is basically going to ride the north side of I-90 out through the Madison area for the next hour. So if you're in Lake County, that threat for flash flooding is only going to increase over the next hour. Please be mindful if you have to venture out for the threat of localized flooding. If you encounter a road, you're not able to see the roadway because it's submerged, please turn around and find a different route. If you're down in Geauga County or Cuyahoga County, the weather obviously very quiet right now, other than some run-of-the-mill rain showers. We have showers and thunderstorms out in Lorain County as well. Erica, I really don't like the look of that Lake County storm.
Yeah, it does look, I wonder, Control Room, can we pull up our storm tracker, Eric Walls' shot once more? I would like to, yeah, I just want to see some of the storm structure from what he's seeing from the storm tracker. And certainly you can tell where we have some of that condensation happening, where those clouds look a little bit more ominous. Likely if he's on 90, which I assume he is, headed eastbound, he is on 90 headed eastbound. Basically what you are seeing, this is a really perfect example. The clouds that you see in front of him are likely the part of the cloud cover that's kind of wrapping around the south side, basically of 90. You've got the core of the storm off to his left or up towards the north, and basically you're seeing that southern end. And this would be, if there is any rotation in this storm, that's essentially where it would be. I really don't love the look of this storm based off of radar. If we can pull up radar again really quickly for me, just to kind of give you an idea of where he is. And I'm going to turn off the lightning product because that can get a little confusing here. So basically he's on I-90, basically right in through here, and you're looking at this part of the storm. Likely what you were seeing on that picture where you saw those darker ominous clouds is likely around in here. I do want to turn on our velocity product just to see what's happening, because again, there's a little bit of twisting that I think we're seeing. Sam, you can confirm with me on that one, but I don't love the look of this storm.
I don't either, and you know, I am seeing some of that turning with height out towards Kirtland in particular, and coming into the Menor area. Again, if not indications of a tornado making it down to the ground, definitely an indication of some strong winds in this area. Again, it is a severe thunderstorm warning, which the criteria for that, winds of 58 miles per hour or greater. So definitely some strong wind coming into the Menor area, Paynesville, Menor on the lake, and then of course out to the east. Erica's going to track the southern end of this thunderstorm. Look at all that heavy rain and lightning. Could see power outages with this, and then again there is a potential for high water issues across Lake County because this thing is really not moving very fast at all. So this is going to be moving over Menor within the next few minutes. I mean, you're already seeing a tremendous amount of rain in the area. Then it'll be moving towards Leroy at 2:19. Thompson at 2:30. Now, I know you guys are not in the warning down there in Thompson, but this storm, if it maintains its current movement off to the east, will be impacting you. But right now, the warning out across most of Lake County. Again, probably best to delay any travel until this passes. It's only 1:50. I know a lot of people not quite out on the roadways yet. This is a live picture from Menor. Our photojournalist Eric Walls is out on the roadways. He's on 90 traveling east, so he's going more into the storm now. Wipers are going to start working a little bit more, right? The road's going to start to get a little bit wet. He's not quite to the worst part of that storm just yet because he's going the speed limit. But if you're going to be traveling in Menor or out to the north and east of Menor across Lake County, please be mindful of this thunderstorm coming in. Again, a lot of lightning with this, potentially some hail as well. If you're just joining us on 19 News, we are on because we had a tornado warned storm out in Ashtabula County that has transitioned over to a severe thunderstorm warning. So there's not an imminent threat for a tornado in our coverage area right now. There are no tornado warnings, but Erica and I have been analyzing this radar data out in Lake County, and again, there's no tornado possible tag from the Weather Service with this thunderstorm. But Erica, we keep talking about how it does look a little bit suspicious at times on the radar.
I'm looking at another radar product because it kind of gives us a little bit of a better, sometimes it can give us a little bit better sensitivity, and you're getting a little hint of it. There's actually a small boundary that this storm is basically riding along, which to me, I don't love, because if you are likely going to see something have a brief spin up, it would be along a little boundary that this storm is basically following along, because that boundary can kind of help to quickly tighten up any little bit of rotation that you would have within a thunderstorm. So that's the boundary right there. This storm is continuing to move off to the east, which basically means it's riding along that boundary. as it crosses through Lake County. So I would like to see it. We have the breaking box right down below here where you can see our storm tracker feed from our photojournalist Eric Walls, just to kind of give you a visual cue as well as the radar picture kind of all in one to understand what's going on. But like you said, Sam, this is doesn't have a tornado tag on it. With that boundary being close by, I don't trust this storm implicitly.
I don't either, especially like just south of Menor and then back to the west of Menor, pretty much between Willoughby and Menor. I don't really like what I'm seeing on the radar there. And then, of course, the elevated threat for flash flooding. We don't like that either. So take this Lake County severe thunderstorm seriously. Eric had mentioned that boundary floating around out there. This is something we've seen in the past where thunderstorms produce a boundary or a lake breeze produces a little boundary, and then the storm works with that, and before you know it, you have a tornado warning. So I'm not going to completely rule out that threat yet with this thunderstorm moving into Menor as we speak. It's 153 right now. Leroy 226, because eventually, again, if this holds together, it is going to move out east into Geauga County. So you have some pretty nasty weather coming into Geauga County as well. I think we have pretty strong winds as well coming into Menor on the lake as we speak. So if you're around Menor on the lake, please take this warning seriously as well. Fairport Harbor, Paynesville, no imminent threat right now, but North Perry, North Madison, all included in this severe thunderstorm warning. Erica's kind of got our velocity product pulled up, which again is, we're looking at winds going towards the radar and away from the radar. We're not super far from the radar right now out in Lake County, but kind of far. The radar we're scanning off of is, of course, in Cuyahoga County, just southwest of downtown. So we're getting you some decent data here, but want to be prepared for the potential of some strong winds for sure. I'd be interested to see, Erica, what we're seeing right now in terms of hail. Yeah. With this thunderstorm out in Lake County. Yeah,
so right now, if you have been with us, you know the different colors that this hail scope can basically show. This is a pretty small hail size. I would imagine at the largest, you're probably dealing with upwards of quarter size hail, just your standard severe thunderstorm warning. This is estimating P size. Sometimes this can underdo estimations just a little bit, so keep that in mind. But overall, the hail threat, not really, I would say, our biggest concern with this particular thunderstorm. It's likely going to be the gusty winds pushing on shore, and if this storm is going to interact with the boundary, then you could potentially be talking about the potential for an isolated tornado, but that is not the case just yet. It's just something that we as meteorologists are continuing to watch because we've seen it happen before, and we don't usually trust when boundaries are around and these storms feed off of the cooler air that sometimes those boundaries can provide to basically draw the warm, moist air a little bit closer to the surface, Sam.
Yeah, you might be feeling some of that rain-cooled air right now coming into Kirtland Hills or areas just south of Kirtland Hills. We've got some additional development kind of just to the east of Mayfield Heights around Hunting Valley, probably popping up off of that same boundary. I'm looking at a radar loop, and the rain you're seeing just to the west of Newberry now out in Geauga County, also probably courtesy of that little boundary. Main concern, again, is that storm out in Lake County, and all of this is going to be moving east through the lake effect belt over the next hour or so. That severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Lake County until 2:45. In Cuyahoga County, we're just seeing basically light to moderate rain at this hour, so we're not seeing anything in terms of severe weather. It's interesting to me, Erica, the worst of the weather outside of what we're seeing in Lake County is actually out over Lake Erie.
Yeah, a lot of times the lake can be a good source of fuel for not only heat, humidity, but you also get these temperature differences when your air temperature is different than what the water temperature is. And so it'll play off of those differences that you have in the atmosphere. You also don't have a lot to break up any storm organization usually out there. So it usually is a pretty ripe environment to continue to see activity blossom, especially in a summertime event like this. And then as it moves on shore, the concern then always is your immediate lakeshore communities. If those storms are strong out over the lake, they're going to bring all that wind in across the lake, and there's really nothing to slow that wind down. And so sometimes it's when the lakeshore can get pretty gusty as you wait for those fronts of storms to just kind of pass you by before things calm down a little bit on the back edge of it. But if I bring up the velocity tool, Certainly you can see where we have some of the stronger winds out there. You look out just north of Lorain County, likely some pretty decent winds out over the lake. If that were to move into off towards the east with a front that's going to be moving through later today, it's likely going to push a lot of that wind into, say, places like eastern Cuyahoga County up towards Lake County. And certainly this is what we're going to have to continue to watch. But right now, the severe threat kind of in this what we call warm sector between the cooler, more stable air out over the lake and the undisturbed atmosphere basically in our northeastern counties, Sam.
We have a shot too out at, you said, Scott, it was Paynesville Township Park. Okay, so obviously it's tough to tell where you are, right, in these camera shots because this is torrential rain. And yes, we're concerned about damaging wind. No, we're not totally out of the woods yet as far as seeing a few tornado warnings this afternoon. But I am starting to get really concerned about localized flash flooding, especially across northern Ashtabula County. There is still a severe thunderstorm warning in effect. I know we're looking at Paynesville Township Park right now, but the weather is just like that out in Ashtabula County too, especially around Plymouth, Ashtabula, Kingsville, North Kingsville, Conneaut. Torrential rain. We got a spotter report out from the Plymouth area that it was raining so hard, and I'm sorry, don't know the person's name, but they let our station know that they could not see across the street. It's raining so heavily. You've probably noticed it's a little bit more steamy outside today. It's a little bit more humid, so we have a lot of moisture to work with. And if these storms are going to ride right along little boundaries and they're going to move repeatedly over the same areas, that is only going to increase our flash flooding risk. So let's do a quick reset. We have a newscast coming up in an hour, so we've got a lot of coverage from 3 o'clock to 6:30. But just to give you an idea of what's going on, we had some nasty weather coming out of Portage County into Trumbull County. Gusty showers, winds of 40 miles per hour, frequent lightning here. No imminent severe weather threat at this time, but you've got some more storms coming into Warren here shortly if they hold together. Severe thunderstorm warning still in effect for Lake County until 2:45. Ashtabula County, this is east of Ashtabula, still under a severe thunderstorm warning. Heavy rain here. Again, please delay travel if you're not comfortable driving in the rain. And then we've got more storms, it looks like, coming into portions of southern Lake County. Cuyahoga County, just rain right now. But if anything else breaks any more tornado warnings, we will let you know, Erica.